Hello, my class, and welcome to your next English lesson. In the previous lesson, we were boxing up our ideas and key phrases that we would be looking at when we were writing our final non-chronological report. And in today's lesson, we're going to be focusing on changing those keywords and phrases into sentences. So we're going to spend a bit of time looking at structuring a sentence correctly and making sure it is including everything that's needed to make it an interesting sentence. So I want you to refer back to your box up and the keywords and ideas that you've written down. And we're going to look at how to use this information that you've got and turn it into interesting sentences. We have done a bit in our SPAG lessons about types of sentences that you can get. So that's also something to think about. When you are building a sentence, okay, most sentences include a subject, a verb, or an object. So I'm going to show you how just 2 or 3 of these things can make simple sentences. So as you can see, I've color coded each part of our sentence. So our subject is red, our verb is pink, our object is green. So with just 2 or 3 of these, you can make simple sentences like the girl, which is the subject, brushed, which is the verb, her hair, and that's the object. Or we could just use the subject and the verb and say Julia sang. So we're going to practice making some simple sentences together. Have a look at having a subject and a verb, or a subject, verb, and object. And we can have a look at these options. And what I want you to do is just on your whiteboard, choose, create 2 sentences, one with, or 2 or 3 sentences if you want, one with 2 bricks, one with 3 bricks of the following. So subject, verb, object. So pause the video now, choose your own options and write those down. So what you can see with these kinds of sentences are they are very simple. There's not a lot of information in them, but you've got the person you're talking about or the thing you're talking about, and the verb is obviously your doing word of what is happening in that sentence. One thing that we need to remember, and sometimes we do forget when we are writing sentences, is to include determiners. Now, determiners are words that come before our noun, and they introduce the noun and give the reader important information about it. So if our noun, for example, is trees, our determiner is the. We have 2 dogs, my dad, her finger, an octopus. And these are what we use as determiners. And 2 of the determiners that we may look at, and we have spoken about before, is a or an. So using a or an. Now I'm bringing this up because this is a common mistake that some of you make, and hopefully we will be able to fix it. We can see in this sentence here, we've got an octopus. And we use an when the word that follows it starts with a vowel. Okay, so an octopus, and it starts with an O. Our vowels are obviously A, E, I, O, U. Those are our vowels, and it is something we need to remember. So if the next word after your determiner starts with A, E, I, O, or U, and I'll actually make them easier to see, A, E, I, O, U. If they start with any of those 5 letters, we would use an. If it starts with any other consonant, we start with a. So make sure you use the correct version of a or an. So we need to make sure that we have included determiners. okay, in our sentences, and those obviously come before a noun. So now we can use determiners to make our simple sentences better. So our sentence already has a subject, a verb, and an object. And now we're going to expand the sentence by including determiners and adjectives. And adjectives obviously are used to describe nouns, and they usually go between the determiner and the noun. So for example, if we have the girl brushed her hair, all right, our determiner is the and her. They're already in our sentences. And our adjective is our describing word, is the little girl brushed her curly hair. Curly and little are our adjectives, and our determiners are obviously the and her. Now that we break that sentence down, we've got the little girl brushed her curly hair, and it goes a determiner, an adjective, a noun, a verb, a determiner, an adjective, and then here we've actually got as the object. Okay. Next, to make it even better, we could use adverbs. And we have had a few lessons talking about adding adverbs into our sentences. And obviously, once we've added our adjective to describe our nouns, we are then able to add adverbs. Okay, so think about how the action is happening and include an adverb to give the reader more information about our verb. Because remember, our adverb adds the information that we need about our verb. So our sentence started off with the little girl brushed her curly hair. We've now expanded it even more by saying the little girl carefully brushed her curly hair. And an adverb usually, not always, but usually goes before the verb it's describing. They sometimes also go at the front of our sentences in our fronted adverbials. Okay, but they come before our verb. Okay. And just as I've mentioned previously, we also use fronted adverbials. And a fronted adverbial is a word, phrase, or clause that's at the beginning of a sentence and gives you more information about your verb or your action. And they are always followed by a comma. So I have tried to mention that quite a bit during our time of non-chronological reports, that our fronted adverbials are always followed by commas. So our sentence that we're starting with before we add our fronted adverbial is the little girl carefully brushed her curly hair. We now have in the morning, the little girl carefully brushed her curly hair, and our comma should have gone there. And obviously, then this would have been corrected to have a smaller letter because the start of our sentence is now there. Okay. We also use conjunctions in our writing. Now we did you will be doing a SPAG lesson on adding conjunctions into your writing, or you would have done it yesterday. And we know that we use conjunctions in our writing to add other clauses to our sentences. So these allow the reader to have a better understanding of what has happened and adds more information into our sentences. So now we have in the morning, the little girl carefully brushed her curly hair. In the morning, the little girl carefully brushed her curly hair because, and because is our conjunction. Oh. Because, and we have more information about it, it was tangled. So I want you to pause for a moment and have a go at writing your own sentences, building some interesting sentences. And I've given you two different types that you can try there. And then obviously I've labeled what each color should be. Underneath your black is a fronted adverbial. Purple is your determiner. Your gray was your adjectives. your red was your subject, your pink was your verb, and I think we've missed that one. That should be pink in this one. Sorry, just needed to correct something. So you're going to have a go at building your own interesting sentences. Use different colors to show the different parts of your sentences, or if you don't have colors at home, you can underline the words with a ruler and label what each word is. So can you write a sentence that includes the following? Have a look at the way that I've structured these. Can you complete a sentence in this order? So have a go at writing these two sentences out in this order. So starting with a fronted adverbial, having your determiners, then your adjectives, your subject. We then have the verb, your adverb. We've got another determiner, an adjective, and then the top one has just got a conjunction, and then the bottom one has an object and a conjunction. You can go back and have a look as we were structuring our sentences, but see if you can structure your sentence slightly differently and include these things in them. So your tasks for today are as follows. With our sentence building in mind, use the information that you have collected in your box up to create a draft, a rough version of your final non-chronological report. This, although I usually say that I would like these done neatly, this is obviously your planning stage of your final version. Okay, so if you've got something crossed out or you've changed a word, that's okay. Read through your work and make sure you have included conjunctions like because, when, if, and although, just like the ones that we used in our SPAG lesson yesterday. And I would like you to underline them in a different color in your final draft so we can see your information that you have added. And include interesting sentence starters and fronted adverbials that are punctuated correctly in your sentence. So if you haven't included them, you can go back and edit your page and make sure that they are written in there. Remember that this is going to be a draft version, so there will be some things that you haven't got right or you've crossed out or you've added in, because when you do come to writing this out finally, you will then have your final edited version. Don't forget to share this with us on Tapestry. Please make sure that it is uploaded onto Tapestry by 4 p.m. today.